do you see the present state of humanity and life on this planet? You know, it's a broad question, but what do you see as the pressing sort of demands on our species at this moment?
The demand on the species. I think something came to me the other day, and I think it's a perfect way of analogy. Knowing a lot of people are going through change, and it was the idea of an accelerator particle, and the idea of that being in the forefront of some of the news. Well, actually, as we go through this rift in this Milky Way galaxy, what I think is really interesting, if you actually look at the science of it, we're really literally being sprinkled with dust and light. And so as any time you're going through the notion of light, what has to come up is the shadow. So if you look at what's happening on the planet right now, many, many people in many countries, many personalities are all going through actually where the shadow side is coming up, and we're actually looking and be able to see things in the light of what it is, and to really begin to see what we need to shift if we really want to go into enlightenment. As we're going through these waves, as the Vedic knowledge talks about, when you're going through these waves and we've been in the dark time and we're going into the light, everything has to be purified. So as much as some people might think we're in crisis, I think, yeah, it's in some people call it a new birth, and it is having its birth pangs. So I think if you would look at what we're needing to do as our individual self, it really is to really look at our shadow sides. And some of it could be as simple as not even loving yourself. You know, we've been so conditioned to think of ourselves in some way of less than. And I think part of that needs to come up, and to realize that we are a part and a particle and a golden light and an emissary for God. We are God's emissaries here on the planet and everywhere. And the whole galaxy is heating up, so I'm not sure what's happening to those guys up there that keep trying to talk to us down here. So that's my thought.
Is it part of our evolutionary process that we have to go through? You're saying this darkness. Have there been other times of light, or is this sort of like the peak of our experience, where it seems like everything is sort of coming together at once? The health of the planet, which probably has never been before in a way, where we've had a direct influence on it. Why do you think it is, as a species, we've come to this kind of crossroads?
Why have we come to the crossroads at this time? I think everything in nature is cyclical. I think everything is about evolution, and everything in our system actually cycles and spins. And so we've had many cycles. We've had many times on this planet when there's been other civilizations that have come and gone. If you really look at the notion of history, there's many people that will tell you that we've been around even for millions of years. They look at the stones at Stonehenge, and they will tell you that they're via their erosion. Somebody like Michael Tellinger will tell you that it's been around for a million years. So I think we've had seasons and cycles. We also know that the pyramids are water erosion and not the other. So I think there's many things we need to look at. I think we've gone through, I think as the nature of the universe is one of duality in the way we see it, at least in this dimension, everything spins. So when something spins, even if it's spinning around the sun or whatever, you always go through the time when there's the moon and the sun, and it's a natural state of us. And I think in order to actually know oneself, you have to, and to evolve oneself, you've had to have the full spectrum of experiences. So I think even in the time when we've had our shadow and we've lived in the dark ages where there was no knowledge, and the things that actually would heal you and whatever were literally hermetically sealed, so that wisdom has been cut off during this cycle of shadow. And I think as we evolve, some of the stuff is nothing's really new under the sun. I mean, the field is infinite possibilities. We get stuck in a particular state of mind. What I think is really neat about this time is that the science is validating where mysticism was. And so there is actually emerging an understanding. And with that understanding, we don't have to live in blind faith anymore. We can actually live in a way where we understand the nature and the structure of how God's actually designed us. And we live in this most amazing designer universe. And He has designed us. I call it, we're freewheeling, and it's in our wheel and how we bring charge to things. Our body in its field, it's literally like a battery, has a field, and we ourselves consciously have to change our energetic field mindfully, consciously, to evolve. It's not something that some things just happen, but either you're going to get weighted down and people are going to leave the planet because they're too literally dense to rise, with a lighter way of being. So I think if I look at why we're going through this, it's evolution, it's cycles, it's natural part of the way the world and the universe works. It's just a natural construct.
So God is one of those funny words that I think when people hear the word God, certain connotations come up. How would you describe that force?
How do I describe the notion of God?
Because I know you even said he. I mean, that might just be a. Do you think it's really a male force that you're referring to, or is that just something that we're in language we just kind of get a little bit habitual, and that's because it's been referred to? How would you describe that?
How I describe God is you can't look at it as male or female, and actually it's both, because if you look at the world of duality, you look at spin, there's light and dark. And so there's male, female. If you look at, there's magnetism, there's electricity. So God is the force. It's kind of that's, here's one thing that comes to me. Well, there was a gentleman by the name of Vanderbilt, and he explained the notion of our fractal nature of our universe, which when you look at the fractal nature of our universe, it really brings everything to a feedback loop. It brings the notion of spin, and when you look at the notion of God, to me, God is the most amazing scientist that you could possibly look at. The way he's constructed it for us to have our free will, the way he has constructed it so patterns repeating patterns, how the center of him is actually implanted in your heart. That's where your field of intensity comes in. Your mind is basically like a computer. It's your feedback loop. It's your part that you download that says, "Oop, if that's going to happen, it's going to be." So he's constructed this place for which us to play in such an amazing way. So to me, God is literally, he's in everything. It is everything, and we ourselves are part and a particle of that. We ourselves are, I'm going to call it like little mini gods, because it's like a mother gives birth to a child, and would you say that that child was not of you? Of course you would say it would be. So if everything in nature shows us and reveals, which it does, the nature of the universe, then we'd have to say that that would be true. And everything comes from the void. Think of God, we're coming from the void, which is the oceans out there. Well, it's no different than when you're a mother and you have a baby in your womb. It's also in the void, and then it shows itself and reveals itself too. To begin, you nurture it along, and then it becomes its own little beingness, and it creates fractally again and again as well. So we are ourselves. God is within us, and so when you look at God and judging and all of these things that we talk about, that you have to look that if everything is a battery pack and everything is a feedback loop, that the geometry of you that actually is structured, which is that crystalline form that you're made out of light, which crystallizes into form, and these constructs, even our body, our shapes, or everything, are all one and the same, revealing you. And so one part of how we look at God is some people will say, well, math is it. Well, math is basically a measurement of the visual things that unfold for us. And so no one thing is better than the other. No one discipline is better than the other. It's all one and the same. It's just a way of exploring it. I think one way I look at it is we're here in our own lab looking at all of it. And some of us explore it through art. Some of us explore ourselves through dance. Some of us explore ourselves through numbers. Some just want to be scientists. But we're still like in a little mini lab where we're actually exploring what it is that is in all of it. And it's amazing. So to me, God is us exploring even itself in this amazing mirror feedback loop. So I think that's one way of looking at it.
Cool. I like that. So what is our responsibility as beings, as I'll say separate beings from the whole?
So you want to know, okay, the question is, what is our individual responsibility and all of this, and to ourselves? And I think one of the other things that you've mentioned was the idea of the one and the many. So here's how I understand it. I understand it this way. If I look at the water, which is the field, and I look at the notion of a drop of water, or the notion of even fractals, and I'm one of the piece of the whole, then part of becoming and feeling more whole is part of the belonging. So I think when we feel separate, we don't feel part of the connected, and part of that causes such an immense amount of agony and such an immense amount of pain. That sense of separation is really And the reason people would hide from it is because even going out there would be too painful, because there's too much judgment or whatever that goes on. As far as how we evolve through knowing ourselves to being part of that collective drop, I think that's why even a lot of tech says the golden rule should stand, the way we treat people should stand. I think the other part that comes into that notion of how we work as a collective is to realize that we are like a transducer and we are like a receiver. What we put in, we basically are a signal and we radiate out. And if you look at the notion of and why we want to, is if you look at Dr. Emoto's work and you look at crystals, when we say things with angry tones or we're not happy, we actually distort the actual part that we actually emanate ourselves out to the world. We have a distorted view, we have a distorted way of seeing, projecting. When you are more in sync, in harmony, in love, then the crystallized structure that forms and emanates, which is the crystal in you, actually has a way of putting out a more coherent and beautiful signature where people really want to be in your field because actually it's safe and it's comfortable. So I think as our own energetic self, especially at this time, we're going through these shifts and we're getting rid of the shadow side. In order to do that, we're basically cleaning out our own interior to be able to project as a light being, basically thinking that what we're projecting is our own light. We're projecting that clear message of a crystal clear vessel. And as we all clear those things out in the way we treat ourselves and each other, and I think sometimes we're not even very nice to ourselves, we'll give everything away or whatever, we're just treating with respect. Our responsibility then is to do that, one, as an individual, and the more we do it as a collective, the better the whole thing would be, the whole better the planet would be for everybody. And it's as simple, I think it's the notion that keeps coming to me, it's as simple as changing your mind. I mean, we could have a better world if everybody woke up to being personally responsible, to, stop saying those harsh things to ourselves, to our interior selves, or even to the exterior. Because again, we are a battery, we are projecting, and it is a feedback loop that is, going out. And if people don't like, you don't like what you're getting, then you can look at what is it that you're sending out? What is it that you're actually literally magnetizing back into your field? So if you're looking at, again, what it is that we need to do and why we need to be responsible is because the seed of it all starts with us. And we all are fractal. The more beautiful fractals we are, the better it is. And I actually want to, the one thing that actually comes into mind as far as that we are an energetic body that is liquid, solids, and gases. We all know that from science, which means we are life without end. And that says it in all the texts. And so we are reincarnated. So if you want to keep that same feedback loop, do you really look at your life and think, is it something that I really want? Or is it something I don't really want? And it's only you that can be responsible literally for that signature of what you're magnetizing in. So I think for your own purpose and your own evolution, it's good to say, I love that or I don't love that. And if I don't love that, what is it that's showing me out here, mirroring back to me what it is that I'm either attracting in or what it is that I would prefer not to have. So it still comes back to the I in you that has to really honor that. So I think did I answer the question?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
And the only way you could have, because it's a paradox. It's like we were talking about before. It's all a paradox. The concept of I in a universe of oneness, it does make sense in a way. Right? It's just like free will. When we were talking about free will, how in a way almost the only free will that we have is to acquiesce to something we already desire to do or want to do.
I think the word desire is key.
Desire is a funny word. I have funny one with desire too, right? Because it's a good word, but it also represents, in a way, a wanting,
But why not?
I don't know.
Okay, you want to ask me that question?
Sure.
I think the word desire, I think when you look at some of the Eastern traditions, they say you want to get rid of all desire because it's the root of all the pain, because eventually, especially on this dimension, it all goes away. But to me, I think of desire as a next journey. So I've eaten chocolate. I don't love chocolate, but some people love chocolate. Say I've had chocolate and I just have to have chocolate. But all of a sudden you've had chocolate and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I don't want chocolate anymore. I've had enough. but now I want to go on to strawberries. So that next desire is the thing that makes you the seeker and makes you the explorer, which to me is a beautiful thing. If you're totally attached to it and you become addicted to it or whatever, I can understand that that becomes like an issue. But desire in itself is the next creative expression, the next thing to go explore in this amazing planet that we actually do live in. And I don't think it is a bad thing. I think of it as like I like the notion of bhakti love, where bhakti is where you're the expression of love and beauty. I mean, God has given us, honestly, if we would quit destroying it, He has given us a beautiful planet. There are trees that grow fractally. There's nothing that is random. It is a beautiful unfolding when it is in pure, pristine place. If you walk down, even the weeds are amazing sometimes. If you look at how they're actually truly designed in these fractal patterns. It's an unfolding, like with music. I know music is a big one where if you look at the number 5, 5 is where things fold and unfold and fold. It's also where the Gregorian chants and the Tibetan music is. It's at the 5 level because it's that thing that it's harmonic and then it spins and spins out and spins out. It's beautiful. So why wouldn't you desire to seek that? Why would you not desire to experience that? That's why we've come literally in this physical form. We've come in this form and God's given us this body where we have eyes to see things, we have nose to smell things, we taste, we can hear, and we can touch, and not to use the gifts that we've had to taste the food, to do the things that we do, touch furry things, is kind of like saying, I don't want any of that. Well, why'd you come here then? I just think we're here to do that. Now, again, there's excesses, and then again, that's a journey too. So anyway, is it good or bad? Whatever. That's why I think it says, do not judge. Because you don't know what's created that person, you don't know. And you've never been to a workshop or something where you go and you walk in and you've already sussed out the room, and you've already decided who you like and you don't like. We've all done that. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the workshop, there's people who reveal parts of themselves, and at the end you go, wow, that person is amazing, because you actually know what created that, either that pain or that joy or whatever. And in that, we can honor. So I always say, be curious. Don't just judge. Be curious. See what made that person. Go ask, because it's really an interesting story. And I think just like our fingerprints, there's no one person who's had exactly the same journey. And I think that's what makes life interesting, is when we actually can acquire to what it is that makes people the way they are. Because, yeah, people are fascinating.
How do you try to promote consciousness in your own way? How do you try to...
I got it.
Yeah.
How do I promote consciousness? I've done it in how I promote consciousness is this way. It started for me when I started a school for gifted kids, most of them with learning differences. And when I started seeing how curriculum was laid out, where it fractured things and every discipline was very separate, I realized that my job was to integrate and theme-based. And so I took every grade from 1 to 9 in the school that I did, and I integrated and theme-based, and I saw where things could weave and interconnected. And the other thing I did is I allowed the kids to have creativity, and I allowed them to see where things were relative. And in that notion, kids loved coming to school. There was really not an issue. So when that venture ended, what I have done is I've taken that time and all the things that I've learned doing that, and I wrote a book, which is mostly pictures, because I'm a little dyslexic, so I like lots of images, and I also think that images actually say 1,000 words. And what I did is I took the disciplines that I saw with cutting-edge science that would, for a lot of it, that doesn't look like it's valid at the moment, but when you actually look at it and you put all the pieces together, you get the synthesis of knowledge that is utterly riveting. And so for me, creating the book was a way of creating like 239 ideas of where science, the electric universe, the idea of how light works and how it crystallizes, it synthesizes like Dr. Emoto's work and cymatics and all of this cutting edge science. That was great. And it gave me a platform then to create a magazine, which is Science to Sage as well. But I've invited all of the experts to come in and then to elaborate. And what I'm getting, which I love, is some of their new things that they keep doing. So all the magazines that I do are theme-based. And again, because I like that. But I'm synthesizing across lots of things to one area, and it's beautiful for me. And the bigger vision that I have is to create a hub and a center where I have a new curriculum for living, where all of these people and all of this work is synthesized so that you can actually see it constructed in a way that's cutting edge. You have full domain over yourself. You can see how you create your own reality. And to me, it's life affirming. It puts you back in the driver's seat, because you actually realize that you are an emanation and a creation of the force, the field, the God, whatever you want to call it. And it's you who are on the adventure. And so, if like when you go to regular school, if you don't fit in the box, all of a sudden there's something wrong with you. But the box is only designed for convenience, or even in some ways for an industrial age when you were supposed to sit at a factory. And right now, where everything is beginning to shift, that we really do need to be ultimately creative, ultimately expressive, and ultimately out there redesigning our future. And so we need to really completely step out of the box with these cultural creatives and entrepreneurs and innovative thinkers, and people are on the edge. And there's so much out there. And so my job to me is just to synthesize it, to put it in a way where you can see it as the whole, give these cutting edge people a voice, and I just love learning. So to me, this is utterly riveting. It utterly thrills me. My thought as a kid was, I want to go to God's designer universe, and I really want to see where he designs. I thought I had to die to go do that, right? But now I'm here, I'm alive in this dimension at this time, and I can beginning to unravel the science of it, the mysticism of it, and to honor the people that are the future thinkers and innovators and creators for our next reality. And for me, nothing could be more thrilling.
Were you always a conscious person the way that you are now? Can you describe any moments where something shifted and everything, how you perceive the world changed?
When was the pivotal moment of when my life I've got some of the big ahas? I think for me, it was kind of a process, actually, and I would think that the process happened over probably 2 or 3 years, but mostly it was when I had always gone to church as a kid, and then when I was in my early 20s, I was seeking for something different, and I was fortunate enough at that time to live in Los Angeles, and I went to a Agape Center for Spiritual Living, and Agape Center, which was Michael Beckwith, and he was my teacher for 12 years when I was there, and I felt very fortunate because I felt like when I went there, I came home. And when I moved to Vancouver, there was the gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Armstrong who synthesized for me, which was really a profound shift, and it was really like not learning, almost felt like I was remembering. And it was how the science and the spirituality met, and I could start to embody that. And then when I was working with the kids, it was like, oh, and the more I could infuse these teachings of all these cutting edge science with these kids, they were coming alive. So for me, I could see all the integration and all the synthesis. And growing up being dyslexic, I mean, it was not something that I ever thought that I loved science. I actually think this is kind of ironic. I mean, if you kind of ask my brothers, they'd probably chuckle. But I think, life kind of puts you in some strange paths, and starting out going to 13 different schools and living all over the world, but at the same time not always fitting in. I think what I've noticed with a lot of people that are spiritual, or especially even psychic, they didn't necessarily have an early or an easy beginning, and it made sort of a sense of the awareness very keen for survival. So I think for me, there's always been a sense of an awareness of some things, just because I needed to be mindful. When you go to 13 different schools, you just kind of have to be more in sync. So that's always been driven for me. And then I've had some epiphanies, along doing work like with breath work, which has been phenomenal. So is any one thing? I think just the part that actually shifted me over the edge was learning the science of the science and the spirituality of it all. Then I realized I was back in the driver's seat. I was responsible for absolutely everything. And that wasn't always comfortable. I mean, I've gone through some of my own shifts lately, and every time I thought I've steadied out that I could blame somebody else, it shows up again in your own life for you to clean out, right? It's still the feedback loop. You think it's somebody else, and then you realize it's still you because you're still following you. So life becomes a journey. of again, really looking at the shadow sides and really learning to love yourself. So, yeah.
When were those moments of belonging?
You know, there's a couple things, and one of them was in solitude. There was a time we lived in the Marshall Islands on a place called Kwajalein, and it was a time, honestly, in my life when I was the new kid in school and not really accepted. And so after school, I would go walking along the beach, and I'd collect seashells at the seashore, and it was just moments of peace for me. And I actually liked the solitude. It was okay with me. And then there was the other time when I actually moved back to the States, and actually quite the opposite experience. My best girlfriend, who is still know today, I was instantly accepted. I walked into that classroom and I was the new kid, and it was like, whoa, hey, check it out, there's a new kid. And from that moment on, I've had that best friend and other best friends, and it was beautiful for me. It was beautiful for me. So I've seen both sides. I've been popular, I've been unpopular, I've been all kinds of things. So I think there's a great sensitivity within me to understanding that loneliness, and yet then understanding the beauty of it when you are sort of like brought into a fold. And yeah, and again, it's a sense of belonging, and the sense of being able to go into your own solitude and have a place where you can be at peace with yourself. I think if I reflect on that and look at now, that's exactly what I do. There are moments when I just need to be alone to process, to create the magazine, to synthesize all the information. And yet the thing that brings me the best joy is sitting down too with friends and having a good glass of wine and giggling and talking. And to me, those are the two most rewarding things for me.
Where do you feel society's priorities are at the present time?
Actually, if I look at society's priorities right now and I see what's happening, and when I listen to my friends, and I think many people are absolutely ecstatic, at the same time a bit scared. There's a lot of, as somebody would say, we need to get our shift together. And I think it's as we get rid of our shadow sides, as we look at things that have not been of service to us, like certain structures and foundations that may be crumbling. It's really I liked what the Hopi said. It's like, let go, flow into the river. And I think part of that, and part is when you understand that you really are a chemical being, and we are going through a belt which is pumping us with light. Our molecules are literally rearranging. And, some people even talk about the DNA shifts and all that, which has been done. I think it's to know that right now it's okay not to feel that you need to have something to grab onto, just to be with it, allow it, and to be in friendship. I think during this time when things are unsettling, and to know that there is a community or there is a friend or whatever, I think because it is unsettling. But at the same time, to know that it has a purpose, and to let go to whatever does not serve you, let go to what's not serve humanity, and to look at the things that have not served the planet. Even the planet is a living being as well. It is a crystalline structure, just like we are a crystalline structure. It actually communicates with us. So there was one thing that makes me think of it is in the notion of spin. And the earth wobbling and all of the earthquakes we have, it is we do have a positive and negative force. And right now, when we look at energies, a lot of the dominance has been very male dominant for a very long time, and it's been one of conquering. And when you look at what needs to come back, and I don't think that the feminine itself has to take over, I think that needs to come in balance. Because when anything, I think of it like a washing machine. When a washing machine is not balanced, it actually begins to literally wobble. And the heavier the load, the more agitated the spin. So the sooner we clean up our act, the sooner Mother Nature is going to be happy with this again. So it right now it's rumbling and it's tumbling, and it says, I got a dirty laundry load to do here. So the sooner we all pitch in and clean up, the sooner we'll be back in balance. It doesn't have to be so bad, but it depends on us. Really, literally cleaning ourselves from the inside, saying no to things that don't work for her and work for us. Because at the end of the day, she is our breadbasket. She is our water. She is our air. She is our space. And when we don't look at it from that perspective, we are really not honoring the thing that actually sustains us. And we haven't been taught to look at it that way. We think of ourselves, again, it's separation. And I think right now we're really looking back at unity consciousness. We're looking back at how we can be in sync and in harmony. And I don't know, the one way of saying it is some of these pagan rituals is actually knowing that we are Earth. We are no different. We are no different. We are made, we are all made of the same stuff.
You're great.
Thank you.
You speak very, very eloquently.
No, thank you. That's new for me too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a
I was just shy after going all those places, and when I actually started putting on events and I had to introduce people, it made me more comfortable. And then people would say, "Well, you're kind of natural at it," and I'm like, "Really?" And this is a process for me. So everybody says, "No, you're great on the radio. You're great on that. Don't worry about it. Go for it." And it's like, oh, okay. So it's you know. And then I was on radio shows. It's like, oh, not bad. Oh, you're fast. You're quick. You're this. Okay, cool. Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when we get rid of all that stuff that's oppressing us, who we are.
But this has also been something I've been learning, right? This has been part of writing the book. It's part of getting woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning and something saying, okay, I've got an outline for you. And you're going, you got to be kidding. I'm dyslexic. You don't really want me to write something, do you? You got to be kidding. And then you step up and it's, again, you get that pit in the stomach and you just do it anyway. So when somebody was going to do the magazine and they didn't show up, it was like, well, how hard could that be? Well, let's just give it a go. And then it's like, it reveals another part of you. And it's like, that's cool. I like that. Whoa.
It feels like evolution, doesn't it?
It is evolution.
It is totally evolution.
It is. It's me evolving me.
Yeah,
and it's like discovering and letting go of stuff and stuff and stuff. I like it when somebody said, was something I was reading, it was Tobias, it was like this, God didn't want you to come back to him. He sent you out for you to become your own God. Go out and do that and become a star. Go out and become a planet. And I'm like, really? Okay. Because does your mother take you back? No. So why do you think God really wants you to come back to what? He goes, no, you've been birthed forward for you to go out and emanate and create. So go out and do that. And so it is actually taking those shackles off and actually innovating and creating and going, well, I didn't think I could do that. And then anytime you go, well, all right, and you do it and you go, oh, that wasn't so bad. Yeah.
And then there's more.
And then there's more.
So much more to push out, to expand.
Oh, you know, that goes to the word to desire. Did I desire that? You know, it's funny. And when we say, yes, I desired to create something. And in the desire to create the school, you have to become something. And you can't just say, oh, it's like, you know, I want that and it's going to show up. No, that's not how it works. It's like you want that. You have to evolve to that. And so sometimes it takes a little bit for what you ask for, and sometimes it's like, oh, you want that, right? Well, it's taken you about 5 years to get there. It's like, oh, right? So, but it is in the becoming that you become like, oh, and then when you arrive there, it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing?
Yeah. Well, it's a constant state of becoming, isn't it?
It is. It is a constant state. So it's always. So, but I did come from my sense of desire to create something better for the kids.
Yeah, you know, it's a funny thing. The desire thing, I totally agree with you. You know, it's almost like you have to go through these steps and without judgment, right? And experience them, and everything evolves because desire evolves into something else too.
Without judgment?
There's octaves, right, to everything. And there's octaves to desire. I don't know what the higher octave of desire is. I haven't reached that yet, but I'm sure there is one. Like like infinity goes forever. Every experience can have the octaves keep expanding.
They do.
So like you say, how can you judge anything? You know, everything is an experience that needs to be experienced before you can evolve it, right?
Or then you evolve to that, and then you can evolve to the next thing, to the next pinnacle, or not.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's your own little lab.
So one last thing here, I think.
Okay.
I always ask what an ideal world would look like for you, or would be, because I think we should always be thinking in terms about the ideal. Why not? We can create anything we want. So at this point, from this perception of where you are, what would an ideal world look like and be experienced as?
What would be the ideal world? I have this idea of paradise in my mind. I think opulent. And the reason I think of that, and I don't think opulent in the greedy sense by any sense, but you know, when I look at God and everything that we've ever created for God, it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. And anytime, and it's beauty. So when I think of what would be the optimum, it would be to actually And sometimes that beauty is in its simplicity. It's the flowers, it's knowing how the trees are. And actually, part of that paradise is recognizing it. I think we walk around every day so completely unaware of what has been gifted to us. So I think fur is beautiful. I think the flowers are beautiful. I think food is amazing. The apples are amazing. Peaches are amazing. And when I think of opulent, it's like without worry. Without worry. I often think of people like in the islands before we built all this stuff, and they could walk and they could just pick up the fruit. There was no worry. They went out and fished. There was no worry. And in the evening they'd sit around and they'd play their guitars and have a good time. There was no worry. We've created these monolithic things that make us struggle, and I think it's kind of funny with the stock market and the things that are going on, because as soon as you think you have money, they always take it away, and it's these cycles and all these things, right? And it's like, enough. It's like, where is really the security? And the security and the safety of all of that is just knowing that you're taken care of. And you know what? Really, nature has done that. We have absolutely made it in a way where we've made it such a struggle. And we've given our power away to a lot of people. And that has to end. So paradise to me? Paradise to me is my friends. It's having alone time. It's having my friend time. It's looking at the beauty. It's feeling safe. It's listening to music and really enjoying the full array. If I think of the Renaissance, I think the Renaissance is when people actually could see the interconnectedness of everything, could appreciate and allow for that whole mixture of cacophony of yummy things all coming together. Really great. That's what I think paradise is actually appreciating really all that is here.
Perfect.
Okay.
You're an exceptional speaker.
Thank you. So are we off camera?
No, I'm still filming.
Oh, okay.
Now it's